So, the first step to making any change is having the awareness of what our patterns are. Now, if you're watching this, if you've already got your ticket, if you are commenting success so that we can send you over your free ticket for Saturday, then you likely know that you sabotage yourself somewhere. And that's a great first step. From there, we want to get really clear on not just what the self sabotage pattern is, but what triggers it. So, for example, for those of you who don't know, I lived in Australia for 8 years between 2009 and like 2017. And I, when I was living there, there was a phase of probably about 6 months where I would come home from work and I would pull up my phone and I would Uber Eats, the Australian version of Uber Eats. I would Uber Eats a small tub of Rolo Ben and Jerry ice cream or cookie dough Ben and Jerry ice cream to my house. It was like one of those, like, I call it the small tub to make myself feel better. And I would Uber Eats that to the house, and then I would sit and I would watch Netflix on my computer on my bed, and I would just be shoveling this ice cream in my mouth, and I wouldn't even I didn't even taste it. I didn't even get to enjoy the ice cream because the spoon would hit the bottom of the tub, and I'd be like, I was so unconscious just shoveling this ice cream in my mouth, watching whatever movie on Netflix, that I didn't even realize that I was engaging. I didn't enjoy the ice cream. And then I'd be upset with myself. Now, I was doing this like 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week. That's how often I was doing this. Huge self sabotage pattern. I had to figure out what was the trigger, what was causing me to engage in that self sabotage pattern. And what I realized is that it was whenever I had a stressful day at work and I came home and I felt stressed out, I had some anxiety going on, that's when I would reach for my phone and just like without even thinking, without even, considering if it was in my budget to get Uber Eats again for a 4th time that week, I would, Uber Eats the ice cream to my house. So I had the trigger, and that's the first step to breaking this cycle is we need to know here's how we're sabotaging ourselves, and then here is the trigger. So how you find the trigger is I want you to recall a time, probably easier to recall a time in the recent past when you sabotaged yourself. And I want you to think back to that time and ask yourself, what was I thinking, feeling, or doing just before I repeated the pattern? So for me, the pattern was the getting Uber Eats. It was kind of mine was a 2-part pattern. Getting Uber Eats, Ben and Jerry's to my house, which wasn't great for my bank account balance back then. And then 2 was, unconsciously comfort eating a tub of ice cream while, watching a movie or whatever on Netflix. And so that was the pattern. So you might know the pattern. I was talking with somebody, an entrepreneur, a couple of months ago, and he said, every time my business starts doing really well, I pick a fight with my wife. And it's not until I'm like sleeping on the couch that night that I'm like, why did I do this? Right? So that was his pattern. So the trigger for him was that his business was doing well. So he likely had a moment where he thought, oh, this is our best month in business yet, or we've had a really great month, or, we've made so many sales this month. Whatever the thought pattern was for him, that was his trigger. And then the pattern was he would start a fight with his wife. Okay. Mine was the trigger. I was feeling stressed out, anxious, overwhelmed. And then the pattern was the Uber Eating Ben and Jerry's and shoveling all of that ice cream into my face. And, that's just not great for the waistline or your health, your arteries. So we need to figure out what is the pattern and then what's the trigger. What were you thinking, feeling, or doing just before you repeated that pattern? And then from there, we're going to create an action plan of what we are going to do to get, out of this cycle. So, for example, my plan, my action plan, instead of Uber Eatsing, whenever I had that feeling of overwhelm or stress and I found myself wanting to reach for my phone or actually reaching for my phone and pulling up Uber Eats, I would go and take my dog for a 30-minute walk. And oftentimes that was enough to lower my anxiety, my overwhelm levels, that I didn't desire the ice cream anymore. Now, so we create an action plan. When the trigger happens, this is what I'm going to do instead of repeating my old pattern. Now, this is a temporary fix to an unconscious solution. So I don't want you to be like, oh, well, I've got the answer now, so I don't need to show up on Saturday. We are going to go much, much deeper on Saturday into reprogramming the unconscious mind. This is a conscious mind strategy to get you out of self-sabotage for now until we can do the unconscious work, right? And the two together is what is going to be the most potent towards your transformation.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Cycle Breakers. This channel is dedicated to giving you the tools that you need to clear out the blocks holding you back so you can live the life that you desire. Now, before you go, as our special gift to you, we have our 7-day nervous system reset. These are the exact exercises that I give all of our clients in every single one of our programs to help them regulate their nervous system, to make that inner work and clearing out those mental blocks so much easier. The best part, it's absolutely free. Just click on the link in the description below and you'll get instant access.